Blame it all on my roots. I showed up in boots. All right, let's go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to that FPL show. It's game week 6. I'm joined by the boys again. It's Rod and Danny. The boys have been away this week. Danny's been on holiday, and Rod has finally graduated from uni. So the boys have had a good time this last week. But it's back to business. Back to that FPL show. Boys, how you doing?
Been an interesting week, and I'm looking forward to another week of football.
Football. Danny?
I didn't catch many of the games this week, but that still hasn't destroyed my passion for the show. I can't wait to talk about some things.
Talk about some football. And, it was an interesting fantasy week. It was a bit of a weird one. I had an absolute shitter, boys. I got 53 points. I'm pretty disgusted with myself. I've got Brandon Williams playing on 0 points because Ferran Torres wasn't involved because of PEP roulette. Highest scoring player was Salah, who I didn't captain because I captained Ronaldo. Just an absolute fucking stinker. Pretty sure Rod had a good week though.
Team in these game weeks, I tend to have a good week. It wasn't one of my better weeks this week. We did take a little red arrow, but we finished on 61. Once again, made the right captain choice. But I think we need that green arrow. We need to be shooting up the ranks. How about you, Danny? How did you do?
I actually had, I think, my best week yet. I used my wild card, made a lot of changes, brought in a lot of informed players, and it really paid off for me. I think in our personal league, I got the most points out of everyone with 74, but it still wasn't enough to move me at the table. So I'm happy with my week, but I want more, I want more.
You're hungry for more, Danny. I swear you went above me.
No, I didn't. I'm still like 15 points behind.
Oh yes, that's all right then. I'm happy with that. As long as I'm not like anywhere near you, I'll be happy, I think, boys. Just to go over the fixtures a bit of last week. Obviously, this is coming late. We've had some problems. Mainly me. I'm a bit of a bastard like that. So we're recording this on the Friday. It should be going up on the Friday. So it should be games tomorrow. But we're just going to review last week's game just quickly. I just want to start, Rod, with your game, the Villa versus Everton game. I was very surprised in the way this game went.
I think looking at the score, I think it flatters us a little bit, but it was still, I thought it was a dominant performance. Everton had lost a lot of players in Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. In Pickford, but I think we were brilliant, and the introduction of Leon Bailey in the second half was he just completely flipped the game on his head. He was absolutely brilliant in his 21-minute cameo. And I think being at home, winning 3-0 has given us that lift, put morale in the veins of our team, and I think I'm excited now for what we can do in the next game because I thought it was a brilliant result. And Everton, they're not a pushover as we saw against Burnley, where Burnley were winning for a large part of the game, and then Everton switched on the gas and won 3-1. But for us to win 3-0 against an Everton team, I'm very, very happy. How do you see it, Jack?
I was a bit surprised. The game was pretty even throughout, I thought. So it was, but Villa did turn it on, especially when Bailey came on to the pitch. 3-0 a bit flattering, like you said, but I was impressed with Villa. I thought this game was going to be like a real indicator of, what are Villa going to be this season. I didn't come away feeling like we did get that true indicator, like I said, because of how weakened Everton were without, Richarlison and DCL. But still, it was impressive. It's good to see these new signings turning up, Rod. You think now with Ollie Watkins being back as well, he's had a couple games under his belt, getting to link up with Danny, and it's going to be very interesting for Villa going forward.
I think I have to agree with you there, where it was, Everton want full strength, but to get a win nevertheless is good. And it's good to integrate the new signings, give players more minutes. And it shows how versatile we can be, where we started as a 3-5-2 and then we took target off for Bailey and switched into more of a 4-3-3. And from then it was all Villa. But I completely agree where it was. The scoreline is a bit flattering if you're a neutral and you didn't really watch the game, but
I just wanted to, before we move on from this game, I just wanted to ask you about Leon Bailey, new signing, the Jamaican from Bayer Leverkusen, was it? he's come on now in a couple games, and he's looked electric. Like he set Villa Park on fire the other night. But how disappointed are you as a Villa fan knowing that he isn't going to be available now for a while because of the injuries? Like you said, I think we was talking before. You said he's only played like 30 odd minutes, was it?
I think, yeah. So his injury record is okay. At Leverkusen, he only missed 10 games in 3 seasons, which is brilliant. And then he comes to Villa and he's already missed a few. And yeah, he has only played 30 minutes of football. In that 30 minutes of football, he's managed to register a goal and 2 assists. We've seen it every time he's come on. Little cameo, he's been brilliant at Everton. At Chelsea, he turned Alonso inside out. At Everton, he scored a brilliant goal and got an assist from the corner. We see what he's about. He's that exciting winger who can even play up front. He's got pace, he's got skill. And I think that's what we need on the weekend against United. But now, obviously, he's got that eye strain and he's going to be out till after the international break. And it's just another setback because I feel like this year, we're not ever going to be at a stage where we have a full strength team to play. There's always going to be 1 or 2 injuries, which kind of hinders us a little bit. But as a Villa fan, I'm excited. He's a very exciting player. And I think just under 30 million, what we paid for him is brilliant. He's 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
Years to come. And I think if we do ever sell him on, we're going to sell him on for double, triple that because he's a brilliant young player.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And like, as a United fan, it is a bit more, well, I don't know how to put it really, not as worried because I thought when I did see him play, when I've seen him play this season for Villa, he's looked, very exciting. He likes to go forward. He's very quick. And it'll be a big miss for Villa against United. Moving on now. Arsenal-Burnley, Rod. It was 1-0, Arsenal. Burnley, I felt like they should have had a penalty. It didn't go their way, so it is how it is. But Arsenal now, Rod, have picked up 2 results on the spin. 2-1-0 results, I think. Arteta's looking a bit more comfortable in this chair now, Rod.
I think if we look at it at face value, they probably, the games they've played, they've had City, probably didn't expect to win. They had Brentford in the first game, probably didn't expect to win. And yeah, they've come away now with a win against Burnley and a win against Norwich, which are 2 games they probably should be winning, but Arteta is going to be a bit more comfortable now. But we still have to look at the stats, and against Norwich, it saw the goal, and it was a messy goal, and obviously you need that at points. But then against Burnley, it was a free kick. I haven't been convincing by any stretch, but I think this week I think they play Tottenham, isn't it, Jack?
I think it is. Yes, Arsenal Spurs on the Sunday, 4:30 kickoff.
At this point, if they can beat Spurs on the weekend, then I think Arteta's going to be feeling very comfortable. And it's a big game, but you can't complain. They're 2 out 1, not 2 out 2. They're 6 points. They're off to a start, but I'm still not by them.
Yeah, I'm not convinced by Arsenal whatsoever as well. Like you said, they haven't really created 2 clear-cut opportunities, really. It is going to be an interesting game against Spurs on the weekend because after their great start with 9 points from 9, they've now lost 2 games on the spin, Crystal Palace, and now they've lost 3-0 against Chelsea, where the first half was definitely like really scrappy, fairly even, I'd say. Maybe even Spurs got a little bit of the better of it, but they just fell apart in the second half, Rod. Conceded 3. Chelsea, deserving winners. I think Chelsea are doing well so far this season because I don't think they've played to their maximum level, nowhere near it, but they're just picking up results. And for Spurs, I'm starting to worry a bit because Kane doesn't really look involved with the play too much. He's coming way too far deep and he's not getting involved up the top end of the pitch. I'm starting to worry for Nuno a bit. 2 losses on the bounce. He's got Arsenal this week. I'd say this is a must-win game for him.
I think I have to completely agree with you. Usually what we know Nuno as is a defensively sound coach, but they've conceded 6 goals in their last 2 games, and Chelsea registered 10 shots on target against Tottenham, and that doesn't sound like a Nuno team. And yeah, like you said, Kane is disinterested. Son, he's got some injuries in him, so he's not going to be fully fit always. And their defense, it looks a bit of a tangle. And I'm not too sure. I'd be worried for Nuno a little bit. Obviously, we are still only 5-6 games in. But this week against Arsenal, it's a huge one, not only for the team, but for the fans. And this, you can kind of set your stamp in the league if you win this. It will give you that confidence you need to push on. But it's going to be an interesting game, as derbies always are. We had the London derby and Spurs-Chelsea, but we've got a North London derby this weekend. So it's going to be an interesting one, I think.
Yeah, and Danny, just to talk about the Chelsea-Spurs game, obviously, where would you say Spurs' weakest point is in their team at the moment? I think it's their midfield, personally. What do you think?
I completely 100% agree. It is definitely their midfield. They've got no sort of controllers in there. I mean, they've been playing with like Harry Winks and Oliver Skipp, and Oliver Skipp might have potential, but Harry Winks and him together, it's just really poor, like no creativity. They need someone like a Jorginho, in my opinion, someone who can dictate the play and like labels in behind for strikers to run onto. And every single team they play that has a better midfield, they will lose that game, as we saw against Chelsea.
Yeah, moving on from this game, I just want to talk about Wolves-Brentford. Pretty sure you boys didn't catch this game, but I did. Very impressive by Brentford. Tony should have had a hat-trick. The one goal was offside, and the other, and Mbeumo should have passed it to him, and he would have had an open goal. But I just wanted to point out in this game how poor the officiating was. God, it was shocking. Some of the decisions, like Janssen ran into another centre-back, went down, and Wolves had the ball, and he wasn't holding his head or anything. The Brentford player had nothing to do with it, and they stopped the game. It was completely pointless. Shocking decisions. Anyway, moving on from the Wolves-Brentford game. United against West Ham. Oh my God, what a game. I'm going to kick it to you first, Danny.
It was an absolutely crazy game. Crazy decisions, crazy moments. And I think I wasn't actually convinced by United that they actually deserved to win that game. Yes, they should have had probably 2 penalties on Ronaldo, especially that final Ronaldo when he was brought down right before West Ham went up the other side of the pitch and got the penalty, which Noble missed, of course. But even though they should have had those penalties, I wasn't convinced by United. They just didn't really create a lot of chances, in my opinion, and that's really shocking because they had close to their best 11 out on the pitch. Bruno, Pogba, Ronaldo, and they just didn't create a lot. And yeah, West Ham are actually very good, but they were missing a couple of players, and West Ham themselves didn't really create anything, and they got a lucky goal. But it's like this game really just exploded into life in the second half, and it just highlights how poor the standard of refereeing has become. At the start of the season, I thought the way the refereeing was going, I thought it was an improvement on last season, but last couple of weeks it's just been really poor. And especially when Ronaldo got brought down, that is like a stonewall penalty. And it just it left such a bad taste in the mouth when obviously Luke Shaw handballed it, and yeah, it was a penalty, but they should have never got up that side of the pitch anyway. And I think we have to point some fingers at David Moyes for bringing on Mark Noble to take the penalty. It's one of the strangest decisions. I've heard a few people say it reminds them of when Southgate, of course, brought on like Saka and Sancho to take penalties in the Euros final, and how it completely backfired because it didn't have a feel of the game. And that's exactly what happened to Noble. He came on, he didn't even have a touch. He didn't know what he was doing. He wasn't part of the game. And then obviously he missed, and De Gea saved his first penalty in about 6 or 7 years, which is unbelievable because I thought it was going in, and like De Gea had no chance of saving it. But when De Gea did save, it was insane. The scenes were incredible. The final whistle, the United players going over to De Gea, it was great.
I think I have to jump in there as well, and I completely agree with what you said, Danny. With bringing Noble on, reminded me of what Southgate did, where you need the game, you need to stretch, you need to be warmed up. And Noble sat on the bench drinking his Powerade, ready to go into the changing rooms, when suddenly you're called upon step up in the 90th minute to equalise for your team. It's a huge responsibility, and it was the wrong call. But yet again, it's on the manager for this one. But I think playing devil's advocate, what if it had gone in? Then we'd all be sitting here raving, saying it's a brilliant decision. So it's one of those in football where what you said about the Zuma tackle as well, where the officiating has been poor. It just hasn't been consistent. Where Zuma wipes out Ronaldo, and how VAR doesn't even look at that and give it, I'm not too sure, because it's a blatant pen. You're not going to see anything more clear cut. None of the ball is taken. But what are you going to say, Jack?
I was going to say I agree with the Mark Noble statement, because like if they didn't bring him on and then they missed anyway, they would go, well, you got your best penalty takers on the bench. He's not missed in ages. What was it? I think he was like last 10 he'd scored or something like that, crazy. And if they didn't bring him on, then they would have been pointing fingers of Moyes. Just in this United game, I haven't got too much to say on it. Like Danny, I felt like it was like most people played well in the game, but not many players played great. But the one thing I really just want to pick up on is when Matic came on, I thought he made a big difference compared to Fred. I feel like Fred, I hate to shit on Fred. I really like the guy as like a person, but I just felt like he lacks a purpose in the midfield. He doesn't like to get the ball going forward, start the attacks. He's very side to side. And you could see with the Jesse Lingard goal when he came on, Matic on the ball straight away fires it into Lingard, and then Lingard gets the opportunity and scores. And I just think that's something United have been lacking this season. Just someone who's willing to push the ball forward through midfield. I'm kind of shocked Donny hasn't been given a chance yet in the Prem, because obviously when we're recording this, we've already seen the it's not Capital anymore, is it Carabao Cup games? I thought Donny was really good in that game. I felt like he did, like, it wasn't like Fred does anything too much better than Donny to the point where he shouldn't be playing Donny. So I'm a bit disappointed in that, but overall I was really ecstatic with the result. Brilliant result.
And as a Villa fan, I'm interested to see what you can do against us, because watching that game, bar the Leeds game, I haven't been particularly entertained or interested by United. I think the Leeds game, you did completely trance them, and with Leeds' high pressure, I can see why that happened. But the other games, the Wolves game, the Young Boys game, the West Ham game, I'm not too sure if you're going to be able to do that much against Villa, because I feel like our style of play is similar to that as well. But I guess we'll get onto that in a little while. But I'm intrigued to what you can do against us.
Yeah, most definitely. Just want to talk about Pep Guardiola a bit, boys. He's having a bit of a mare at the moment, I think. He's coming out kind of talking against the fans because they didn't show up. I know everyone takes the piss out of City having an empty stadium and that, but in reality, their fan base isn't massive, and they've got a 50,000 odd seater stadium. I'm not expecting it to be full for every game. He came out against the fans saying how he wanted them, show up against Southampton. They did show up, and they did fuck all. City had one shot on target throughout the whole 90 minutes. In my opinion, Southampton should have had a penalty as well. I know everyone's going, oh, Armstrong's going down. So what? You can foul someone if they're going down. It doesn't matter. It's just ridiculous. The refereeing this week, the United game, the Brentford game, I'm sure there's other games where it's shit because all these refs are fucked. It's just, it's pathetic. It's shit, man. I've had enough of these.
I'm just laughing at the profanity, but continue.
Okay, yeah, I've had enough of these fucking referees, alright? I'm done. Fuck the refs. And fuck Pep.
I want to touch on the Pep and the fan debate as well, where I'm going to have from both sides here. I think football nowadays, especially if you're a bigger club, is an expensive game. But I think, especially with City being in all these competitions, it's difficult because of their fan base is smaller. If, for example, a loyal fan who goes to most games says, all right, I'm going to sit this one out, at a bigger club like Manchester Manchester United or Liverpool, you'll have a different fan come in and sit there. Whereas at City, they haven't got that because their fan base is smaller. So if you have a few thousand fans who travel to Leipzig, who travel to Paris, who will go to Wickham away or something, and they say, all right, we're going to sit this game out because it's not quite tight on our budget, then no one's taken those seats at City. Whereas at United, if a couple of thousand who travel to Young Boys or travel elsewhere say we're going to sit this one out, you've got thousands more coming in. And I get a fan base is built over time, but I think the Premier League in general needs to make tickets more affordable, especially for the under 25s. You've got, in the city of Manchester, you've got 2 good unis. If you were to put some sort of price for students, like an affordable price, and not make it so difficult to get tickets, then I think their fan base would increase. And that's what I feel like they're doing with their new signings, where they've signed Jack Grealish and looking to sign Harry Kane. They're trying to entice more fans to watch them, where Pep already has so much at his disposal. I just think the foot needs to be more affordable. And we can make jokes about them being £12.50 on voucher in uni days, but they still can't entice fans that way, and it's because they are a smaller club. Whereas Liverpool and Man United, they've built their legacy over years. They've got thousands of people from all across the world coming each week to watch them, whereas City haven't got that. Maybe in 10 years' time, City might be at that level, but United and Liverpool have already sustained that for such a long period of time. But
it's not even United and Liverpool. Like, for me, like, in terms of fan base, Villa's got a bigger fan base. Do you know what I mean? And it's no shot on City. It's just the fact is that they haven't been a club where they've been. I don't like when you're growing up, they weren't the team. Do you know what I mean? Now they are the team. Like, let's say in 10, 15 years' time, I'm sure their fan base is going to be a lot bigger than it is now. But I just don't understand where Pep was trying to come from.
I want to defend Pep right now and say maybe he didn't only mean the fans need to like turn up more, but they need to turn up as in create a bit more of an atmosphere, get behind the team a bit more. I feel like the Etihad, it's not one of the best of stadiums in terms of atmosphere. A lot of smaller clubs will create a lot more hostile atmosphere for their for clubs turning up to them. You can think of like Brentford and how it was rocking on that first game of the season, and maybe he just wants the fans to get behind the team a bit more. They are watching one of the most expensive teams assembled. If I was a City fan, I would be like going crazy every game. Maybe that's what he means when he says the fans need to turn up.
Yeah, but I'm going to disagree with you on that, Danny, because you're going on about Brentford. Brentford's got they understand their fan base is a lot smaller, their stadium's a lot smaller, so more every fan that can get a ticket's going to go. Do you know what I mean? Whereas City Stadium is too big for their fan base at the moment. That's how
I'm just saying they should create more of an atmosphere. They should sing more.
If they had a 40,000 stadium, right, they'd be able to fill out every single game, no problem, right? And then it would have more of an atmosphere.
Yeah. Go on, Rob.
I completely agree, and I think when you start targeting the fans, you start asking them to come, and that's kind of when you create a bit of hostility between yourself and the fans. And I think he did something similar to when he was at Bayern Munich, where sometimes creates this void between him and the fans, and I think that's when it gets messy. The fans are the reason you can spend all this money. The fans are the reason you've got this money, because they turn up, they put money into the club, and you can spend it. And fans are all about football, and football is all about the fans. So exactly. I think to come out with a comment with the fans need to turn up, it just feels as a City fan.
It just feels like, why would you go against the only people who are with you? Because let's be fair, right? I think most people are getting to the point now in the league where City are a team that not many people really feel for them. They have no real attachment to them, and I think a lot of fans of other teams have quite a dislike about them. So why would you turn your back on the only people who really have yours?
But do you know what it is? I just don't think Pep loves the club like that. that's what it is. I think like he doesn't love City like he loves Barcelona, so he feels he can just say this sort of thing and get away with it.
Yeah. Okay, and let's just move on, boys. I want to talk about the upcoming fixtures, and is there any key player you want to look out for in these games? I'll kick it to you first, Rod. Chelsea against City. It's the early kickoff on BT Sport.
Being the early kickoff, I'll probably be more interested in the other early kickoff. But this game is,
As will we.
this game once again, it's a big game in the Premier League, and this is what we live for. We live for waking up a bit early on a Saturday to get the football on and have some beers. And I think Chelsea City is going to be an entertainer, especially because it's on. But these teams need to win the league, and to win the league, you have to beat the big teams. So they drop points, and I think Lukaku will be one to watch, of course. And it's going to be interesting to see if he does Grealish in this game, because I think now he's got Foden back, he's got De Bruyne back, and it's going to be interesting to see what system Pep puts in, because
Man, it's like
smart Tuchel isn't easy. So
he's got so many players in one position when you think about it, like Foden, Grealish, Bernardo, De Bruyne. I mean, Mahrez could play there. Man, it's nuts. Yeah.
Saw that Chelsea, they put out their second team, yet their second team would probably come eighth and can do exactly the same. So the amount of players these players can just put into the fray is ridiculous. Now, I think if I'm going to have to go with a score prediction, I do think it is going to be a tight one, but I can see Chelsea just edging it 2-1.
Yeah, I agree with you on Chelsea edging it. I think City's lack of a striker is definitely going to be apparent in this game. I don't really think City have been tested yet this season. So we haven't really seen the lack of their striker being a problem. But yeah, I think Chelsea are going to beat them. I think it could actually be a 2-0 in this game. Is there a player you'd look out for in this one, Rod? For me, it's going to be the battle between, Lukaku and Diaz.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with you. As we've seen Lukaku in previous games, if he bullies the centre-back early, it's going to be a tough game for them all game. So if Lukaku can make his mark early on Diaz and whoever partners Diaz, like Ake, then it's going to be a tough game for those two. But that's a battle which, what the Premier League's all about, a world-class defender against a world-class striker. So I do have to agree with you there.
Yeah, and Danny, how do you see this one going?
I agree with you guys. I think it's going to be a Chelsea win. Tuchel does have the edge over Pep in sort of these one-off games. I think he's just tactically better at the end of the day, and that's what it's going to come down to. And Tuchel has more flexible players that can play a system for a one-off game, something that will suit playing against City. But just looking at like individual players, I'm actually interested to see how Jack Grealish gets on, because he hasn't. You said City hasn't been tested yet, and Grealish really hasn't had to play in a massive game yet. So I'm just interested to see how he gets on in these big games, because he will be a big game player eventually. I just want to see how he's going to cope on Saturday.
I think we saw him though in the game against Leipzig, where as much I hate it, I try not to watch it. It's still a open wound for me. But
just say it, Rod. It hurts.
It does hurt. He was brilliant against Leipzig, and so far he is a creative outlet. But City have so many of them. But how is he going to fit in when all of the players are fit? We'll see. But it's going to be interesting to see what Jack can do. I won't be watching personally, but the other 15 City fans will, I guess.
Yeah, just to touch on that, Rod, when what you said about Grealish in the Leipzig game, he looked at home at that level, like, do you know what I mean? So like you said, it's going to be interesting to see him if he does play against Chelsea, especially if he does go with like Foden and De Bruyne in the midfield as well. Right, the next game, Rod, I'm going to kick it to you again, because it's your boys coming to my boys.
So we haven't won at Old Trafford since, I think it must have been like 12 years, where Agbonlahor put it past Kuszak from an Ashley Young cross. I think that was literally the last time we won at Old Trafford. We hate coming to Old Trafford. We never do anything. And Of course, we've got Mike Dean referee. Who would have thought, eh? I'm going to put it out there. There will be a penalty. I'm not sure when, but there will be a penalty in that game, at least one.
Pogba.
Probably Pogba or probably Konza apparently fouling Fernandez, something like that. But I see it.
You meant when he viciously put his foot underneath Fernandez's foot? That was,
I think that's what his reference is.
That's what happens when you play a Big Six club and you're not a Big Six. So I feel with Bailey, I would have been a bit more confident. But if we could deploy the same system we did against Chelsea, where we took it to them, we didn't just sit back and allow pressure, because you can't do that at United. They have world-class players all across the pitch. So if we take it to you, we play the 3-5-2, this time House instead of Tuanzebe, then I feel like we can give you a game, because you do struggle against a low block like we've seen against Wolves.
yeah.
And I feel, I don't know, I'm going to go with a score prediction of 2-0 United. I have got Ronnie captain, so if we do lose, I hope he scores a couple.
Do you know if McGinn's starting? I know he went off for a concussion.
Dean Smith confirmed last night and this morning that he is fit for selection, yeah.
Okay, so that definitely changes my mind a bit about the game. Yeah, so for me, it is going to be a really hard game against Villa. I think you are a good team. I think you've got a really solid squad now. You're lacking a bit of depth, but if you could add your strongest 11, it's definitely, top 7, top 6, I'd say. I think McGinn in that midfield is going to really affect this game. I think the most important player in this game might be Paul Pogba, depending on if he starts in a holding 2 with like Fred or Matic, just because of to dictate the tempo of this game. I do see it being a really tight game, and I think United might get a late winner again. I'm going to go with a 1-0 United late on Ronaldo header. Danny?
I'm not confident at all, I feel like United in a bit of poor form, a bit of a slump. I feel like for 3 games, there's been, starting off that Champions League game against Young Boys, 3 games, West Ham on the weekend, and then West Ham and then the Carabao Cup. Just 3 really poor performances, in my opinion. I'm not confident at all. And I feel like Ronaldo is the only thing that's going to get United through this game, unless there's a sudden upturn in form. I'm looking at it. I think it's going to be 2-2 draw. A very entertaining game. There's going to be a penalty for United, of course. And I just like Villa. I feel like, I'm looking back to that Chelsea game where they lost 3-0, I think, but they put in a hell of a good performance. And the performances are there with Villa. So, 2-2 draw.
I think as well, if our midfield is Douglas Luiz, Jacob Ramsey, I have to say he has been brilliant. Young lad, come into the squad, he's been brilliant. He's got the energy. If it is Dougie, Ramsey and McGinn, I think that energy could hopefully outdo your midfield, if your midfield is just class on class. And I think that's where the game's going to be won. It's going to be won in that midfield. All you have to do is give Ronaldo a chance. If at one point you break past our defence, it's Ronaldo's going to tuck it away. And Ings and Watkins, they need to work hard together, because Varane and Maguire, it's not going to be a pushover. They're 2 brilliant players. But in my opinion, that game is going to be won in the midfield. And I'm interested to see what you boys say. Who's going to be sitting back? Is it going to be Fred and McTominay or Matic? Or who is it? I'm not really too familiar.
Most likely McFred.
Yeah, most likely McFred, and he'll push Pogba out wide, I'd say. But I'd like to see Pogba start maybe in a deeper role next to Matic. I think that's probably our strongest 2.
What about Sancho? Do you think Sancho's going to play? Or
I don't think he'll start. No.
I mean, that's one less concern than, I guess, from a Villa fan point of view. But that's what I mean. You take Sancho out and you can play. You've got Greenwood out there, or don't think Cavani's fit. Just got so much class out there.
Yeah, I think he'll play Bruno, Greenwood, Pogba, Ronaldo as the front 4.
That's 4 ridiculous players. That's what I mean about United.
Yeah.
Obviously, moving on, we've got other games to look at, I guess.
we do have other games, Rod. And we're going to go to Everton against Norwich. I can't see this going any other way than Everton win, despite the fact they're on a bit of a slump, obviously losing 3-0 to Villa and going out of the Carabao Cup the other night against Queen's Park Rangers on penalties. I think Damari Gray's going to bag one for me in fantasy this week. So I'm going to go 3-1 Everton.
I think I'm going to hopefully bring Damari Gray in as well into my team because Rafinha's a bit of an odd one. He's not going to play. But I see it once again. It's Everton, Norwich. Norwich, we're not going to see a bigger yo-yo club, so I see it being 2-0 Everton.
Man, I struggled to see Norwich actually picking up any points this season.
They're just really like poor as in like their quality. Like they're nailed on for 20th place, and I agree with you guys. 3-0 Everton for me.
Yeah, just a bit spineless, I think. Anyway, moving on. Leeds, West Ham. Big game. It's like you got the big boys, and then these are the boys just below them. And I see West Ham winning this one. I think Antonio's back. I think he's going to be the player to look out for in this game. I think the way Leeds play with their style, I think it's actually going to suit West Ham quite well. I think an open game suits West Ham. I think they've got some really great players up the top of the pitch. Our favourite Danny Bananarama, Antonio. I think Vlasic has looked good when he's played for them. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 West Ham.
Jack, where an open game completely suits West Ham, and what Leeds will give you is an open game with a high press and acres of space in behind. And with Antonio coming back, with Vlasic possibly off the bench, they've got Bowen, Fornals, Benrahma. They've got quality in abundance. So I'm going to have to. I hate Leeds as well, so I'm going to have to agree with you. It's gonna be a West Ham win. But I am going to go for a 3-2 West Ham win.
Yeah, quite a scoring. One last thing I just want to say about Leeds. I think their style is great, but I just don't think their players... They've got like average players for a system which needs really high-level players. Yeah. That's what I'd say.
They've gone a bit under the radar, how poor... Like, no one's really talking about how poor Leeds' start to the season has been. I think they got one win, and like it's just been... It hasn't been great at all.
They haven't won yet.
Second season syndrome, maybe.
They haven't won yet.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, 2-0 West Ham for me.
Yeah, just one last thing about Leeds. I think the reason everyone's so like not really saying anything yet is because it's just you expect them to do more, and I think they will. So moving on anyway, Leicester against Burnley. Now, I'm gonna go with Burnley. I went with Burnley last week and it shot me in the ass, but I'm gonna go with Burnley again. I just something about Leicester I'm not rating at the moment. They lost against Brighton last week. Week before that, I think they lost against City. I'm not rating them defensively at the moment. I haven't been a fan of Soyuncu so far this season. I'm gonna go 1-0 Burnley.
I think we're sharing a lot of the same opinions here, where I haven't been entertained by Leicester. They haven't really started. They finished last year. This isn't a game that I'm particularly interested in, and I'll probably watch it. It'll probably be last a match a day for a fact. I'm going to go for a 0-0.
Yes, love that. Brexit football. Danny?
I'm going to go for Leicester win. I think Burnley aren't great away from home. And if like Leicester's squad is just way too good in my opinion to be this poor. This is a game that they're going to have to win, a home game against Burnley if they want to be anywhere near the top half. So yeah, Leicester win for me 2-0.
Yeah, Watford Newcastle. I can only really see Watford winning this one. Obviously Newcastle have players that can hurt you on the break with St. Maximin, Wilson, and Willock. But for me, Watford at home, I think their fans are loud. I think Newcastle just haven't been back for so long now. I think maybe they'll be safe this season, but if they don't change, they'll be going down next season. So yeah, Watford, I'm going to go with a 3-0.
Two of the three players you just named are absent tomorrow, so it's going to just be the St. Maximum show.
5-0.
And once again, it's Bruce Ball. They're away. He'll probably put 11 people behind the ball and try and get a 1-0 St. Max break. But I see it for 2-3-0 Watford. They're going to cruise past Newcastle, I think, who look poor this year.
Yeah. Emmanuel Dennis is going to score. Dennis the Menace, Danny, what are you saying?
Dennis the Menace is not going to score, in my opinion. I think this will be the game that is last on match of the day. I'm going for 0-0 draw. Poor quality game.
Brentford Liverpool, the late kickoff on Saturday. I just see Liverpool winning this one. I think it's going to be quite a tight game, but I think Liverpool will edge it towards the end. I think maybe Liverpool 2-0. I think Salah might get a goal and an assist in this one.
I think looking at this game on paper, I think it's gonna be brilliant. Two high tempo teams, but I do think Liverpool will just edge it. I think they're going to probably win 7-6.
7-6.
7-6.
Greatest Premier League game in history.
It's going to finish 2-0 Liverpool.
7-6, man. That's a fucking bold call. Danny.
I'm going to put my balls on the chopping block and say that Brentford are going to win 2-1. I'm unsure about Salah as my captain this week, and I think I might have to switch him out as my captain. And because I think Brentford are actually going to do some damage and get a 2-1 win.
No, I think's happening. I think we're not picking how we think they're going to go. I think we're picking what we want to happen. Anyway, Southampton against Wolves on Sunday. I'm going to kick this one to you first, Rod.
Southampton Wolves. Oh, Wolves away to Southampton. It's going to be a boring game.
Last on match of the day too.
Wolves failed. Wolves failed to register a shot on target against Brentford, and I feel like Southampton are just. It's going to be a 2-1 Wolves. It's going to be 2 own goals.
Marcel.
Which last week he showed
jam.
how jammy the assists were the week before.
Yeah. Danny.
I've been really impressed with Southampton so far, and Wolves have been okay, in my opinion. And yeah, I just can't think of anything to say really, which shows it's not going to be a great game. I'm thinking a 1-0 Southampton win.
Okay, I'm going to go against you guys. I think it's actually going to be quite a good game. How do you say his name? Ralph Hasenhüttl? No? Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, I really like Southampton's style. Hasselhofen? Yeah. Yeah, I really like their style, the high press, high energy. I think they still do have quite dangerous players. I like the likes of Armstrong. I like Gineppo on the other side and Ward-Prowse in the middle. This season, Wolves have been terrible in front of goal. They've created good chances, just not being able to dispatch them. It's only a matter of time, I think. So I'm going to go with quite a high-scoring game. I'm going to go 3-2 Southampton. Next game, Arsenal Spurs. I'm going to give this one to Danny.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting a bit of deja vu. We're like going into a North London derby, and both North London teams are like absolutely desperate for a win because of how poor their season is going. It happens every season. The North London derby is like used as some sort of like kickstart thing. So if we win the North London derby, we can really kickstart our season. It's just like every season this happens, and it's gonna be hard. I think like Arteta has got. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Spurs because Arteta has got two easy games, and he only won both of them 1-0, I think. And that's just not good enough. I think Arteta is gonna be sacked this season. I think Spurs, because of how negatively their last few results are gonna go all out. I think Kane's finally gonna get off the mark. I'm going for a 3-2 Spurs win.
I think this is a Super Sunday when you have a big game on it. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. Two mid-table teams.
Oh,
I think Spurs probably just a slightly better team. But I think, they are away. Oh, no, I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs.
yeah, I haven't been impressed with either team going forward, and I just feel like out of the two, who's weaker defensively, and I'm going to say Arsenal, so I'm going to go 1-0 Spurs, and I'm going to go for a Harry Kane goal, just because he kind of likes scoring against Arsenal. And Monday, the best game of the weekend, it's Patrick Vieira's boys against Graham Potter's Barmy Army. I think this is hipster football, Danny.
I think it is the football hipster derby. It's quite good Monday night football. If you think of like Monday Night Football on Sky, like it's quite an analytical show, and this can be a quite tactical battle with two emerging young managers. It's going to be hard to pick this one because Palace have started to look good after proving me wrong, and but Brighton, on the other hand, have been excellent at this start of the season, and they beat Leicester last week. I'm going to go for a Brighton win. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Brighton win.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be 2-1 Brighton, only because of Rob Sanchez. He doesn't like to keep clean sheets for me in fantasy. So he's definitely not going to do that again this weekend. I've been really impressed with Crystal Palace. Even against Liverpool last week where they lost 3-0, I thought they did create some really good opportunities, just weren't able to get their shots off. And I love Graham Potter football. I'm going to go Brighton 2-1, Danny. Rod?
Going to be an interesting game. Potter's, especially this year, has been brilliant.
I was always going to say it's going to be an interesting game.
An average squad, but he's out of them, and Vieira's at home is an interesting one as well. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to this one, even though I'll probably be working.
Yeah, you just have it on in the car.
I probably will. I'll be streaming it while delivering on Mackie's.
Yes, that's how it's done, Rod.
I do think it's going to be a 2-2. I'll pay double with an Edouard double.
Yeah, I'd say if Edwards gets the start, I think he might be the player to look out for in this game. I think he's a lot more clinical than Benteke. If it was Villa Benteke, then it'd be a different story. I mean, Crystal Palace could be in the top 4 by the end of the season if it was Villa Benteke, Rod.
Villa Benteke was different gravy.
He was.
He decided to choose Liverpool, where unfortunately the grass isn't always greener, is it, Craig?
It definitely isn't always greener.
He's still bit.
Fucking.
You know, Ashley Young left 10 years ago. It's not always greener, is it, Ashley?
I thought you would like him now. He's returned.
Yeah, I do. Legend.
All right, boys, I'm going to end the show if that's all right with you.
I just want to say one more thing. If you didn't know, this is sponsored by Free Trade. It's
Anyway, if you've watched this far, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Comment below if you want to see anything. And it's been a great show, boys. Thanks for coming on again.
It's been entertaining as always. It's always nice to talk about football. And I'm excited for the weekend.
Yeah, can't wait. Nice to hear from you again, Danny.
Yeah, can't wait for the football. Roll it on.
Football. Right. So we'll see you next week now. We'll probably try and get record around Tuesday, Wednesday, so it's a bit earlier. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.